Today's video is mostly a review of this. It's a LED video light from K&F Concepts, but as part of the review I do take it out in the field for an early morning shoot, so there's always that to look forward to as well. I hope you'll enjoy the video. If you do and you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe before you go. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. I've been looking at video lights for a little while. I really want them for when I do an early morning photo shoot and I want to do a video about it, because unlike an evening or a sunset shoot where a lot of the setup and sort of setting the mood and telling the story happens well before sunset, when you're doing an early morning shoot, a lot of that setup and telling the story happens well before sunrise, so it's in low light or in the dark in some cases. And I just thought that a small, lightweight, portable video light might be a good way to increase the options that I've got for getting decent footage. Now, I should say that this video is a review of this particular video light, which is the K&F Concept KF300 LED video light. But as part of that review, I took it out this morning to an early morning photo shoot. Now, of course, I didn't just do a photo shoot in the dark. I hung around until sunrise and did some additional photography. So part of this video has got nothing to do with this. It's me out doing some photography in the morning. So if you're only interested in the video light, that's fine. What I'll do is I'll put a note in the video when I stop talking about the video light, and you can then just jump to the final chapter of the video, which will be my wrap up and final impressions, having used it on an early morning shoot. Now, the other thing I should mention is I have been looking for a video light for a while. I pretty much decided this was the one I was going to get, but I had some questions about it, and I contacted K&F Concepts, and they were kind enough to send me a video light to review. So I'm not being paid to write a review or to make a video review, but I did get the video light for free in exchange for doing a review, and I think you should know that. Doesn't mean the review's not going to be an honest one. It is. If there's anything I don't like, I'll tell you. Okay, so let's crack on, and we'll start off by talking about what you actually get. Now, this is not a massively expensive bit of kit. It runs at about 43 euros if you're buying it in Europe, or certainly in Spain. Prices may vary in other parts of the world, but it looks like a good bit of kit. You know, it comes in a box, which I've already shown you, and you get various bits and pieces to go along with it. I mean, obviously you get the light itself, you get a little device that fits onto the light and then has a hot shoe mount, so you can mount it on top of a camera. You get a little foot that you can slide that mount into if you want to stand it up. You also get a little tripod which screws into the bottom of that, and you can use it. What's actually quite nice on this is it extends, so it folds up nice and small like that, but it also extends out, and that actually means it's quite a stable platform for the light. You get a battery, which I've got on there at the moment. You get another device, little connector, which I wasn't sure what it was. Took me a little while to figure it out, but basically what you can do with these, if you want to, is you can mount several of them together, make a much larger panel, and this is a connector to mount it to another one of these. You get a battery charger, and you get a cable for the battery charger. Not a very big cable, if I'm honest. I think it's sort of 30 centimeters. It's a bit short for my taste. I prefer a longer cable to be able to, you know, plug it in wherever I want. But it's just a standard micro USB connector, so easy enough to find another cable. I've got loads of them knocking around, so I just use a longer one to charge it up. There's no instruction book with it, but honestly, I don't think you really need much in the way of instructions. It's all pretty simple. The front is the actual LED panel, and there's two different coloured rows of LEDs in there. We'll come on to that in a minute. On the back, there is a power input there, which I believe you can get a separate power supply, so you can run this, you know, from an external power supply if you want to. That's not supplied with it. There's an on-off switch, turns it on and off, surprisingly. There's a little test switch here, so when you turn it on, when you turn it on, it shows you the battery. So when you turn it on, I'll do that again. When you turn it on, it shows you the available battery, and if you press the test switch, it lights up showing you how much battery life is left. And I've been using this, so there's not a lot at the moment. And then there's two dials. So the first dial changes the colour temperature, goes from 3200 Kelvin to 5600 Kelvin, so it's a warm tone, you know, sort of a yellowish golden tone through to a bright, almost blue-white tone. And then you have the final dial, which controls the brightness. And on that subject, this thing is bright. I mean, if I put it on, you know, kind of let's put it on white, that's kind of on the lowest setting. But if I turn it all the way up, whoa, that's bright. Let's turn it back down again. And as I said, you can adjust the colour temperature, so when you adjust it, this is on, what's this on? This is on 5600. So if I turn it now, you'll see what happens is that the balance of those LEDs changes, and it goes to a more warmer or golden light as it moves down to the 3200 Kelvin. Few things that I did with this, you know, pretty much straight away. I charged it up, obviously, and then I ran it for a good hour, and the battery didn't go flat. I think I must have run it probably for at least an hour and a quarter, an hour and a half, and it still had some charge left in it. I also ran a test where I took it into a dark room and I tried shooting some video with it at various different frame rates and shutter speeds, so 24 frames per second, 60 frames per second, 120 frames per second, 240 frames per second, and also at like a shutter speed of a 50th of a second, a 60th, 1/120th, 1/240th. Basically because I wanted to check and make sure that there was no flicker, and there isn't. This thing is completely flicker free. In terms of the quality of it, I mean, it's plastic, yeah. I mean, it's you know, 40 odd. It's not even 50 euros. It's plastic, but it feels pretty robust and solid. You know, yeah, you wouldn't want to drop it from a standing height onto a concrete floor, but then why would you want to do that with any, you know, light system? But it's certainly robust enough that I'm not going to be feeling that I've got to treat it, you know, with you know, like a baby. It's, you know, it's going to be fine to be used properly rather than, you know, having to use it, you know, packed in polystyrene the whole time. So far, or, you know, on first impressions, I've been pretty happy with what I've seen. But of course, the main thing is how does it perform out in the field? So to find that out, I did do a trip out onto the local beach this morning with the camera gear, to do an early morning shoot. I arrived on location about 50 minutes, 45 minutes, 50 minutes before sunrise. Yeah, might as well go and have a look and see what I did. Now, a couple of things. As I said, there's only the first part of the in the field video where the video light's in use, so I will put a note on there when I stop using it, and if you then want to jump to the final chapter and my conclusions, that's absolutely fine. The other thing to mention is, because of the rules here, because I'm on the beach, I do have to wear a mask. I don't like doing videos wearing a mask, but it's the rules, and whether I think it's a sensible rule or not, it doesn't matter. It's the rules and I've stuck with it. Okay, let's go and see what happened this morning. No light. Ooh. Turned from night into day. We've got some waves coming in, but not a very interesting sky. Not sure how much the light helps pointing out in this direction. A little bit, it illuminates the foreground a bit. Okay, let's see if we can find a scene to shoot. Okay, so I'm just playing around with some shots of the rock pool here. So I've got a cluster of rocks in the foreground, some water around, more rocks, a bit of sea and a bit of sky. Now at the moment I've got the video light on, so let's just have a look at the scene. Video light's doing a good job of lighting everything up. Now obviously I'm going to have to turn this off to do the actual photography, so let's do that now. Okay, so this is my scene. It's like an 8-second exposure should work. I'm going to do 2 shots. I'm going to do one focused on the rocks in the foreground and one on the background. Probably not the greatest image in the world, but it's okay for a little play around. And I think I'm just going to stay in this one place for a little while and play around with some options. Well, I think we've reached the point now where I don't need the video light anymore, because it's actually got quite bright. Of course, I picked a morning with an almost full moon to do this, which probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. But I'm going to carry on and take a few more pictures before we go back into the office and talk about my impressions of using the video light. Okay, so I've just changed my angle, so I'm now looking more towards the mountains. I've got the rocks coming in from the bottom right here, then the cluster of rocks here. Let's put that onto manual focus. The rock pool with some nice reflections, and then a little bit of the sea and the mountain. Okay, playing around with a quick vertical shot here. Cluster of rocks in the foreground, water all the way around, and then a little bit of sea coming in, and then the coastline in the background.
Going to have a quick play around with some really fast exposures on the sea. Yeah, so sun right in the middle of the frame, waves in the foreground. Having it way back, very, very fast exposure. Waiting for the waves to come in. Hopefully you get some nice big ones in a second.
Okay, so I thought it was all over, but as I was walking back I spotted something and I had to make a quick decision about whether to concentrate on getting the shot or shooting some video, and I chose to get the shot, and I'm glad I did. There was a cormorant on a rock right by the sea, backlit by the sun, and it was stretching its wings out, and I quickly threw on the 55 to 200 lens, zoomed all the way out. Remembered to turn on the image stabilization because I was shooting handheld. Didn't really have time to think about much else in the way of settings other than just making sure that the image was properly exposed. Grabbed the shot just in time before it decided to fly away. But I do like the image, so I thought I'd share it with you. Okay, some final thoughts then. Using this out in the field, it worked really well. There's a couple of bits in there where the brightness of the light is creating some flare on the GoPro lens, which is, the GoPro is what I've been using for video, and that's not down to any problems with this, just down to me. I'm just not really used to having to think about where to place an artificial light source, so I'm going to have to work on that. I probably also didn't need to have it on as bright as it was for some of what I was doing there. Interestingly, one of the other things that would actually come in quite useful for this is focusing. If you've been out, in the early hours of the morning while it's still dark, and if you need to focus, particularly kind of on the foreground, it can be really difficult. And I've done things in the past where I've kind of stuck a little torch down in the foreground to give me something to focus on. Actually using this, it would be pretty easy to illuminate not just the immediate foreground but quite a bit of the foreground to enable focusing to be more effective. And I'm going to be using it hopefully in future in-office videos as well, because this will come in really handy for getting better lighting in the scene. I didn't pay for this, as I said, but I almost certainly would have bought it if K&F Concepts hadn't offered to send it to me in exchange for the review. If I had paid for it, I'd be happy with it, yeah. It's, what did I say it was, less than 50 euros. It's very, very bright, completely flicker free, offers a lot of flexibility in terms of brightness and color temperature. Battery life seems pretty good. Good range of accessories. Yeah, I'd be happy with it. Now, I know that probably for a lot of people who watch my videos, there's absolutely no interest in owning a video light, but if it is something that you think you're interested in, K&F Concepts have sent me a link where you can go to buy this, and a discount code. The discount code is here, and it's also in the description for this video along with the link. So if you use the link and the discount code, you can get 10% off if it's something that you think would be useful to have. And if not, that's absolutely fine. This will be coming out again on more early morning shoots in the not too distant future. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, well, you know the routine. Please give it a like, share it on social media, leave me a comment. If you're new here and you like the looks of the kind of videos that I do, which is not normally like this one, if I'm brutally honest, but if you do like the looks of what I do, don't forget to hit subscribe before you go. As always, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch, so thank you very much. And until the next video, bye.